From stories around the world to stories here at home, this is the National News Broadcast. A pleasant evening. I'm Delanjali Ananda.
A very good evening indeed. I'm Charitha Prarachi, and now let's move on to the headlines for tonight's news. Richard Badud has been remanded till the 27th of this month. The judicial verdict on the 20th Amendment is to be presented in Parliament tomorrow. Pharmacies and shops in curfew areas will be kept open for 10 hours tomorrow. It has been revealed in the Presidential Commission that nearly 15,000 people were aware of the Easter attack plan. 3 children in the same family killed by drowning. Schools in India closed for 6 months have been partially reopened. On to those and other stories in detail now, and starting off with local stories. Richard Badud, who was arrested this morning, has been detained till the 27th of this month. According to the orders of the Colombo Fort Magistrate, 6 more persons have been detained along with Richard Badud. The Attorney General has sought judicial orders to arrest the MPs in connection with the incident of transporting voters from Puttalam to Mana in 221 buses on the presidential election day of 16th November 2019. The misuse of funds amounting to 9.5 million rupees of the Ministry of Resettlements of Persons were attributed due to this incident. An order has been given to arrest director of the project, Samsuddin Mohammed, as well. Richard Badud, who has been evading police for nearly a week, was arrested at the Ebenezer luxury apartment complex in Dahiwala at early morning today by officials of the CID. A doctor and his wife, who have assisted Richard Badud to remain in the house, were also arrested. The Badud and the suspects were produced before the Colombo Fort Magistrate this afternoon. A group of attorneys representing Badud and others have requested bail for their clients. The magistrate has ordered them to present their written submissions before the 23rd of this month. The bail order will be declared on the 27th. Deputy Solicitor General of the State, Dilip Papiris, said that the government had to spend a large sum of public money to find and arrest Badud, and he has failed to surrender voluntarily to the judiciary. The AG has ordered acting IGP to conduct a full investigation on Richard Badud within 14 days.
Would be produced before the magistrate, Fort Magistrate, and under the charges of Section 386 of Ceylon Penal Code, along with Section 5 of the Public Property Act. In addition to that, he has committed an offence under the Section 82 and 86 of the Presidential Election Act.
Welcome back. The Ministry of Health says that 3,440 persons afflicted with the COVID-19 disease have fully recovered. The first group of recovered patients of the COVID cluster of Divulapitiya has left the hospitals yesterday. Minister of Health Pavitra Vanyarachi has conducted a special discussion with Professor of Virology of Hong Kong University, Malik Paris, on the current COVID-19 situation today. The objective of the meeting was to receive instructions on the usage of new technical methodologies and laboratory experiments. It has been proposed to introduce short-term research strategies in addition to PCR tests. Specialist physicians from many parts of the island attended the discussion. More patients of the Divulapitiya cluster were reported today. Accordingly, the total number of patients in the Divulapitiya cluster is now at 2,122. (3,440 patients have been fully secured as a percentage This is 61.15. The percentage of patients continuously receiving treatment is 38.61. 54,328 persons have ended quarantine and left the centres. 9,287 persons are continuously undergoing quarantine at 83 centres. Daily activities of the Vavuniya General Hospital have been restricted due to the affliction of COVID-19 disease to 3 persons undergoing quarantine. "55 persons who were engaged in quarantine have left the Pumpandua quarantine centre in Vavuniya. They were returnees from Abu Dhabi. The army and police were sterilizing many locations in the Batiklo district to get rid of the corona disease. The GCE advanced level examination is being successfully conducted despite the corona threat. A request has been made to inform of any instances of unhealthy practices at any examination centre to the hotline 1988. An employee at the Divalapita District Hospital was also infected with COVID-19. As a result, more than 17 persons were quarantined. Chairman of the Sri Lanka Ports Authority, Dayaratnayaka, says that activities of the Colombo harbour are being conducted as usual, despite affliction of COVID-19 to several employees at the harbour. Karandenia Public Health Inspector's Office says that a resident of Karandenia employed at the Colombo shipyard was afflicted with COVID-19. Several close associates of the patient were subjected to quarantine. 2 traders at the Negombo Municipal Council market were also infected with COVID-19. All employees at the trade complex were subjected to PCR test today. The 2 afflicted persons were reported to have attended a wedding ceremony in Divalapitiya. Quarantine curfew continued to be imposed in 19 police divisions in the Gampaha district. The National Action Centre to Control COVID-19 says that all shops and pharmacies in the curfew areas will be kept open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m.
And meanwhile, a sum of 15 million rupees collected by the employees of the National Water Supply and Drainage Board was handed over to the IT Itukama COVID-19 Fund today. Chairman of the NWSDB, Nishant Ranatunga, has presented the relevant cheque to Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa at the Temple Trees. A day pay of 7,500 employees of the board has been contributed to the fund.
And now we bring you the global update of the COVID-19 pandemic. More than 40.3 million people around the world have been diagnosed with the coronavirus, while recording a total of 1.1 million COVID-19 related deaths, and over 30.1 million people have recovered from the disease at present. Meanwhile, the Indian states of Uttar Pradesh, Punjab and Sikkim partially reopened schools today after over 6 months of coronavirus lockdown, as cases continue to rise daily across the country. According to the World Health Organization, the United States, India and Brazil remain the most affected countries, leading the world in both confirmed cases and deaths. After recording over 55,000 cases and 578 deaths in the last 24 hours, India's tally on confirmed cases increased up to 7.55 million, while reporting 114,000 deaths. Several states today reopened schools outside containment zones with strict COVID-19 protocols. While Uttar Pradesh, Punjab and Sikkim resumed normal classes in a graded manner, Delhi, Karnataka, Chandigarh and Maharashtra have decided not to reopen schools as the novel coronavirus cases continue to surge. Last month, the federal government had issued guidelines allowing states to decide to gradually reopen schools, colleges and other educational institutions from October 15th at 50% capacity, adhering to COVID-19 safety measures. Meanwhile, the US reported 8.38 million confirmed cases and 224,000 deaths, and Brazil recorded 5.23 million confirmed cases and nearly 154,000 deaths. America remains the most affected with 19 million active cases and more than 600,000 deaths, followed by Southeast Asia and Europe, which registered 8.4 million and 7 million active cases respectively. Regarding the fatalities, Europe recorded 255,000 deaths and Southeast Asia 133,000 deaths. Various indexes of the pandemic have rapidly worsened recently, and the number of infections of people aged above 65 nearly doubled in the past 6 weeks. In Europe, new restrictions and shutdowns are coming into place as the continent overtook the United States in cases per capita last week. Public health officials have warned of an accelerating and possible exponential rise in infections, with confirmed cases in 53 European nations as categorized by the World Health Organization, climbing from 6 million to 7 million in only 10 days. Without effective countermeasures, the WHO warned that the daily coronavirus-related deaths in Europe could rise to 5 times their April peak.
The state of Victoria in Australia, the epicenter of the country's coronavirus outbreak, reported 4 new COVID-19 cases as people in Melbourne were granted more freedom to move about after a months-long lockdown. Beyond hopes, an outbreak in the city was near an end.
Those living through one of the world's longest lockdowns were granted more freedom to move about on Monday. Australia's city of Melbourne lies in the state of Victoria, the epicentre of the country's coronavirus outbreak. Melbourne's 5 million people have been living under a strict lockdown for more than 100 days. Now, residents will finally be able to spend as much time outdoors as they wish, rather than just 2 hours allowed up until Monday for outdoor exercise. Victoria's government is considering more restrictions rollbacks in November. But for now, public gatherings will remain tightly limited, and retailers and restaurants will still be restricted to takeaway or delivery-only orders. People must also stay within 25 kilometres of their homes. Premier Daniel Andrews delivered the news on Sunday.
Now, I know and understand that not everything everybody wanted is in the announcements I've made today. I just make this point. I've announced today what is safe.
The lingering rules have angered some business owners, including a group representing over 2,000 commercial entities in Melbourne, who have called the remaining restrictions, quote, an unjust joke. Victoria is Australia's second most populous state, and according to official data, it accounts for a quarter of Australia's economic output. However, because of the prolonged lockdown, it makes up now 40% of Australia's effectively unemployed.
The China's economy grew 4.9% between July and September, according to government data, as China becomes the first major economy to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. COVID-19 first emerged in central China in Wuhan in December last year, and by early April, lockdowns were lifted as the country gradually reopened factories and businesses while travel restrictions were loosened.
China's economy bounced back even further in the third quarter, as the country's GDP shot up by 4.9% between July and September of this year. And while that's not quite as strong as analysts hoped, it still suggests consumer confidence is returning after the shock caused by the global health crisis. It's one of the few success stories of economic recovery from the crisis, and policymakers around the world hope China's rebound will help stabilise a shattered global economy and kickstart demand, as economies elsewhere struggle with heavy lockdowns. The National Statistics Bureau said on Monday there was reason to believe that a sustained economic recovery was underway. September saw an improvement in all major indicators for the first time this year. Retail sales climbed 3.3% last month, while industrial output grew 6.9%. The government has rolled out a raft of measures to help stimulate the economy, including more fiscal spending, tax relief, and cuts in lending rates and banks' reserve requirements. China, which suffered its first contraction nearly 3 decades earlier this year, is now the only major economy expected to report growth in 2020.
And meanwhile, former director of the State Intelligence Service, Nilantha Jayawardena, has disclosed before the Presidential Commission of Investigating East attack that nearly 15,000 persons were aware of the 11th of April last year on the attack plans of bombing, including Zaharan Hashim. Nilantha Jayawardena also told the Commission that his prediction of the incident of Richard Baduddin's brother aiding Zaharan to flee the country has been established. He was testifying for the 24th occasion and was cross-examined by President's Counsel Shamal Pereira, who was representing His Eminence Reverend Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit. In response to another query, the former intelligence chief has admitted that the state intelligence were aware that Zaharan was behind many acts of crime committed in many parts of the island during the period. He also said although he had not used the word terrorist to identify Zaharan, he has always pointed out the fact that Zaharan was a criminal. He also said that they came to know of Zaharan conducting training camps in New Delhi. Other than there were not aware of any Zaharan's workshops and other activities. He also said that they were also planning to arrest the mastermind of the Zaharan. By the time of April 11th, more than 10,000 of the people in the country were aware of this act. It has been established that Rishad Baduddin's brother went along with Zaharan. He also said that the commission would decide whether he would be continue with the job or go to jail. He added that no other intelligence commission had done the amount of work he was engaged with from the 3rd of March 2015 to 5th of December 2019.
The Viet Maga organization says that an extensive people's mandate has been received to do away with the 19th Amendment. Opinions were expressed in this regard at several media briefings in Colombo today. President of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Professor G.O. Pires, said that the auditing of President's office and the Prime Minister's office will be carried out by the auditors. This is clearly stated in the Constitution. He added that dual citizenship is a right of a Sri Lankan citizen. This fact has been established through Clause 26 of the Sri Lankan Constitution.
And meanwhile, Minister Johnson Fernando says that the Samagi Janabalawega engaged in unsuccessful attempt to fulfill its political objectives in the midst of the COVID pandemic. The minister was responding to statements made by the opposition to postpone the debate on the 20th constitutional amendment, taking into consideration of the current situation. It has also been decided at a recent committee meeting on the parliamentary affairs to hold the debate on the 21st and 22nd of this month. The meeting was attended by representatives of all parties in parliament. However, Chief Opposition Whip Parliamentarian Lakshman K. Ralla, in a letter to the Speaker, has requested to postpone the debate on the 20th Amendment. He has postponed out that it is all necessary to maintain distance according to the laws pertaining to the pandemic situation. Therefore, he has requested the Speaker not to hold parliamentary meetings.
Measures have been taken to set up a national sandalwood garden in Sri Jayawardhanapura, Battaramulla. The location where 1,000 sandalwood saplings are to be planted could be used as a recreation centre. A 9-acre land near the Sri Lanka-Japan Friendship Road in the parliamentary complex adjoining the Apegama premises in Battaramulla has been earmarked for construction. The Sandun Uyana is a concept of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Construction has commenced on the 6th of June this year. Planting of sandalwood saplings is scheduled to commence next week. 11 ponds are also scheduled to be erected in the park. There will be an open-air theatre in between 2 large ponds. The Sandunuyana could also be used as a place for yoga, exercising and meditating. Cafeterias and vehicle parks will also be included. Entry to the park is free of charge. The Sri Lanka Land Development Corporation is in charge of construction on the instructions of the Urban Development Authority.
And former President Maithripala Sirisena says that funds have not been provided in any manner by the Presidential Secretariat for the maintenance of an anti-corruption secretariat. He made these remarks giving evidence before the Presidential Investigation Commission probing political victimizations today. The former president has given evidence before the commission for the first time today on a complaint made by former Sri Lankan ambassador in Russia, Udayanga Weeratunga. Weeratunga has complained to the Presidential Commission that filing a case at the Colombo Magistrate Court over an alleged mid-aircraft financial fraud has been carried out with the intention of inflicting political revenge. Attorneys of the complaint at the beginning of the testimony has inquired the former president whether he could recollect the setting up of an anti-fraud committee. Sirisena has responded saying that the secretariat was established in the Temple Trees under the leadership of then Prime Minister, and that neither he nor his officials had any connection with the secretariat. He added that, however, he was aware of the activities of the Financial Crimes Investigations Division, which came under his purview in the year 2018 through the Ministry of Law and Order. The former president has admitted that they were maintaining a bilateral government. He further said that as a president, he never meddled in the affairs of cabinet ministers. In answering another question by the attorneys of the plaintiff, he further said that FCID may have been established due to the protest of the general public and criticism levelled through the government itself. Sirisena also said that the other party of the government was in control of the Ministers of Finance and Economic Affairs. When he was inquired whether he had any connection with Udayanga Weeratunga on the official level, of former president said that he could not recall of any such contacts.
The State Pharmaceutical Drugs Manufacturing Corporation has commenced a local manufacturing of the drug chlorifrogdale used to prevent occurrence of heart attacks and strokes. The initial consignment of drug production was handed over to State Minister Professor Channa Jayasumana today. The SPMC plans to issue a tablet of the medicine to Medical Supplies Division for ₹2.10. The government's aim is to manufacture locally 60% of this drug requirement. Presently, only 20% is being produced domestically. The local drug production is to be streamlined according to the Vision of Prosperity program. The main objective is to provide drugs of high quality to the general public and to conserve foreign exchange.
And the Puttalam Division of the Police Narcotics Bureau has arrested a second-row jailer of the Kalathura prison with 40 grams of heroin. The suspect has been taken into custody in Velavatta in Puttalam at dawn today after a lengthy investigation. The 37-year-old suspect is a resident in Valihena, Kochikade, Nigambo. Wife of the suspect jailer is a police inspector in the Criminal Investigation Department. The police says that he was arrested when a female employee of the Puttalam prison came to see the suspect. The woman was said that he had maintained contacts with him for some time. The motorcycle of the suspected jailer was also owned by the female employee. The court has ordered to detain the suspect till the 23rd of this month after being produced before the Puttalam magistrate. Jairaj Neville Darshana alias Panchikavatte Neville, identified as an accomplice of organised criminal Kesalvatte Dinoka, was arrested with a 9mm pistol today. He was arrested at an apartment housing complex in C Street, Colombo. The police has also found in the possession of the suspect a magazine with live 10 bullets and more than 2 kilograms of cannabis. He has also been detained for further interrogation. Officials at the Mahara prison have also been successful in detecting 3 pounds of narcotics and mobile phones thrown over the wall of the prison. The 3 pounds were reported to have thrown from the rooftop of a long reading to Ragamavatta along 4:30 am today. Guards at the watch hut have been observed with objects thrown into the prison compound. 2 mobile phones, 2 chargers, 4 batteries, 3 cannabis packets and 20 pieces of tobacco was found in the packets. Superintendent of the Mahara prison, Jagat Veerasinghe, says that 2 persons came in a motorcycle with switched off headlights may have thrown items and fled. And meanwhile, 3 members of the same family who went to bathe in the Kospota Canal in Ranvediava, Dambulla, were killed by drowning this morning. The bodies of the children were found in an unsecured pit in the canal when the parents and the residents went in search of them this morning. Several garments of the children were also found nearby. The bodies were found at the bottom of an operation conducted by the police officers of Galevella station along the residents. Those killed in the incident were the 2 female children of 15 and 12 years of age and a male child of 7 years old. All of them were students of Randeviava Muslim School in Galevella. And with that, we conclude tonight's news. Do it just tomorrow at the very same time. Stay safe. Good night.
Good night.